Hello, everyone. Wanted to say a few words about Don Marquis' Why Abortion is Immoral. Obviously, we have the so-called other side of the question here. That is, we've looked at Judith Jarvis Thompson's defense of abortion, which is not a universal defense of abortion. Um, she leaves open the idea that there are abortions that are unjust or wrong. He doesn't resolve the question of how we are to determine, in any particular case, a just from an unjust abortion, except that a just abortion would be one in which the fetus had no right of access to a woman's body, and an unjust abortion would be where the fetus did, which is actually, I think, quite helpful, but she gives us no absolute reliable criterion for telling the difference. In any case, we have, generally speaking, an anti abortion argument from a philosopher here. Why abortion is immoral. I have to say that this is neither is this a universal condemnation of abortion morally. There are very definite exceptions in, as we'll see in Marquis' argument. There have to be to the general idea that abortion is immoral. And his conclusion is that the vast majority of abortions are immoral, but as we'll see, there's definite exceptions. So, what is his argument? Well, I mean, he takes him a little while to get to it. There is an important, the first section is an important prelude, I think, to his own argument about abortion. And it is quite interesting because basically what he's saying here is that the usual way of approaching the issue from either side, anti abortion or pro abortion, or pro life or pro choice, however you want to put it, that the usual way of approaching it is wrong. Wrong in the sense that it is probably irresolvable because it is about the question of whether the fetus is a person or whether the fetus is a human being in the full sense of human being. Um, and for various reasons, as you'll see, Marquis believes that this way of approaching it is irresolvable. That is, the two positions. The one that abortion is wrong because it's the taking of a human life. The other that abortion is permissible because the fetus is either not a full human or a person in the full sense. That both of these approaches fail for various reasons. And it's actually quite interesting. And if you're interested in philosophy, it's rather typical of the way that philosophical inquiry goes. And what I have in mind is his point that the pro choice position, if we were to say that the fetus is not protected because it's not a person, then that way of putting it would be rather narrow, too narrow for our purposes, because the same characteristics that the fetus lacks that would make it a person or a human being in the full sense are also lacked by infants, people who have dementia. That is, those are not rational creatures either, or persons in the full sense either. But no one thinks that infanticide or killing people with dementia would be moral. So the failure of the pro choice position, from Marquis' point of view, is that in excluding the fetus from being a protected moral creature, that other types of human beings would be excluded too, and no one would accept that. But on the other side, the anti-abortion position, in saying that abortion is wrong because it's the taking of a human life, that it's too broad. I mean, the most notorious counterexample would be, well, you think a cancer cell is human and qualifies as human life, but no one thinks that it's wrong to kill a cancer cell. And that it raises the more important question, I think, why does the status of a life as human give it any kind of protected status? That is, why does species membership, the fact that a life happens to be human, a member of the species Homo sapiens, why does that give it protected status? Which he thinks the anti-abortion position can't answer. I would say that he's right, and that the Catholic position, which is a religious position, is probably the best alternative. That is, it's just a matter of faith that human life or human beings are in a special relationship with God, which has really a biblical basis, which is avowedly a religious tenet of faith. So, but here we're talking philosophy, so matters of faith are not really central or relevant even. So it's quite interesting, his initial conversation or initial discussion of the matter. You should look at it closely because I think it teaches us a lot about maybe some of the shortcomings of the usual way that the moral issue of abortion is discussed. And then in section 2, he gets into his own theory. And what's important about his theory is that he believes that we will never get to any resolution of the abortion question until we have clarified to ourselves something more fundamental. If we presume, as he does and as Judith Jarvis Thompson does, that abortion is a form of killing, then Marquis' point is that we'll never really clarify the morality of this particular form of killing unless we have clarified for ourselves why we think killing in general is wrong, if you see what he's getting at. That is, what he thinks we need to do is to formulate a theory of the wrongness of killing in general before we will be able to say whether abortion, a particular form of killing, is wrong, and if so, then it's wrong. Which is, I think, is a very interesting way of going about it. And he has a theory of the wrongness of killing. His idea is that killing is wrong, first of all, because of its effect on the person killed. And secondly, the effect on the person killed that makes it wrong is that you rob that person of their future. Now, the argument has to be looked at in very close detail. Because really, the way I'd put it is not exactly right. His argument is that killing. We can agree that killing you is wrong and killing me is wrong, and we can agree that killing you is wrong and killing me is wrong because of the effects on you and me. And we can agree that the effect on you and me that make killing you or me wrong is that you rob us of our futures. The reason that it's important to go into that in detail is that what we have agreed upon is fundamentally that it would be wrong to kill anything that has a future like ours. That's what has to be That's what has to be noted when we're reading Marquis. I think a first reading of it, a lot of students think, well, it's wrong to kill someone because you'd be robbing them of their future, which is only half right. What Marquis believes is something more specific, that it would be wrong to kill anything or anyone that had a future like ours, because that's what we've agreed upon. We've agreed upon that it's wrong to kill you or me, and it's wrong to kill you or me because you'd be robbing us of our future. So what we've really concluded is that it would be wrong to kill anything that had a future like ours. Would not necessarily be wrong to kill an animal. An animal has a future, but it doesn't have a future like ours. Um, it would be wrong to kill anything that had a future like ours, is what we can agree upon. Now, it may be wrong to kill animals or other such non-human creatures for other reasons, but we haven't determined them. So that's what's really important, is that we have determined that it would be wrong to kill anything that had a future like ours. That's all we have really determined. His application of this to the abortion question is fairly simple, I would say, because all he really does is claim that, well, okay, we have. Um, well, it's right here on page 192, if you look in the second paragraph. The claim that the primary wrong making feature of a killing is the loss to the victim of the value of its future has obvious consequences for the ethics of abortion. The future of a standard fetus includes a set of experiences, projects, activities, and such, which are identical with the futures of adult human beings, people like us, and are identical with the futures of young children. Since the reason that is sufficient to explain why it is wrong to kill human beings after the time of birth is a reason that also applies to fetuses, it follows that abortion is prima facie. Prima facie means on the face of it, on a first look, seriously morally wrong. So, if it's wrong to kill you and me because it would be taking away our futures, and it would be therefore wrong to kill anything that has a future like ours, well, the standard fetus has a future like ours, which is his fundamental claim about abortion, which is that it would be wrong to kill a fetus, presuming it has a future like ours, for the same reason it would be wrong to kill you and me. It's an ingenious argument. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know.